Hello, everyone. I'm Apostle Donette Haney with Prayer Time Ministry, your Kingdom Family Auntie, Auntie D. And today we're going to talk about the 7 stages of grief. Did you know that grief affects everyone? Yes, all of us have walked through grief. First stage we're going to talk about is shock and denial. This is the initial stage, and it seems so unreal that it's hard to wrap our minds around it. Our emotions go from disbelief to numbness, to being overwhelmed, and even being paralyzed. We're just all over the place in this first stage of grief. Now, these next 6 stages may or may not happen in the order that I explain them, but we're going to call stage 2 pain and guilt. This is the stage where we suffer. Often we feel we are moaning and groaning, and we just can't quench the ache and the emptiness of loss. Sometimes we feel regret, and even to the point of blaming ourselves as if we could have stopped or prevented the death. This stage is very emotional. No one can tell us how long we should mourn or how long we should be grieving. It varies from person to person and even from death to death. But you need to know and understand how you're grieving and the way you are grieving. Now, this next stage, which is stage 3, is anger and bargaining. It is an emotional boil-over stage where we are blaming ourselves, we're blaming others, and even blaming God. We even have a desperate plea in this bargaining stage for a reversal of the death or an alternative to the bad news. It's the stage where we try to bargain with God to see if there's anything we can do to change the situation. Stage 4 is the stage that usually lasts the longest, keeping in mind that this stage could happen weeks, months, and even years after the death of a loved one. It is the stage of depression, reflection, and loneliness. It's the stage where we finally realize that the inevitable has happened. That feeling of hopelessness, sadness, and loneliness arise. One often isolate themselves during this stage and reflect on the memories of their loved one. The next stage we recognize is the upward turn, stage 5. This is when we begin to adjust to life without the loved one's presence. Life becomes a little calmer. We begin to be a little more organized and feel a little more in touch with ourselves, and that depression begins to lift. Again, I want to remind you that these stages of grief does not have to happen in the order that I'm listing them, nor do they have a certain time frame to last. And you may even find yourself circling back around to another stage that you've gone through previously. The next stage, stage 6, reconstruction and working through. It's in this stage that things begin to move, where your mind begins to function again, and you may even begin to seek out realistic solutions to the problems posed by the loss. It's in this stage where you begin to work on practical things, financial issues, and rebuilding your life in spite of the loss. This is the stage that we see some people begin to start programs that would help others, like MADD, M-A-D-D, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Walking through this stage, you begin to get your voice back, you begin to get your strength back, and you just begin to walk through life anew, which leads to stage 7, acceptance and hope. This is the stage where emotionally you accept the bad news, and finally you begin to move forward in life. And then you can embrace something that I call good grief. Good grief is when you begin to implement something that your loved one did that you admired, and now you begin to take that as your own and implement it in life in their remembrance on behalf of them and to honor them. The entire grieving process will flow much smoother and bear lighter on our hearts as we rely on our faith in God and surround ourselves with loving family and friends and even support groups to help us along the way. God bless you, and I pray that you experience good grief real soon.